light of the things you lack.
Thank you. Very true. Will you stand and join me in the pledges, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, we're going to take a few minutes and go into executive session. We'll convene pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to discuss the following: pending litigation with Rise Communities, LLC, and GRMMI Limited versus Manvel Planning Development and Zoning Commission and Jose Abram City Planner. Okay, we will be back shortly. What happened?
He said it's nice in here. Cold, cold, cold.
Yeah, yeah. All righty. All right, we have returned from executive session, having made no decisions. And we have a public hearing to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the city of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning classification of an approximate 5.7420 acre tract located at 2951 County Road 58, Manvel, Texas, from Light Commercial District LC to Light Commercial District with specific use permit, LC SUP, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the use of property for NAICS use code 447110 gasoline stations with convenience stores, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. Do I have anybody who would like to speak to this public hearing? It's the first call. Second call. Anyone to speak to the public hearing? And a third call. All right, our next public hearing to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the city of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by changing the zoning classification of an approximate 13.82 acre tract of land located at 11,700 Magnolia Parkway, Manvel, Texas, from open single-family residential OSFR district to light commercial LC district, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. Have anyone who would like to speak to this public hearing? First call. And a second call to anybody who would like to speak. And we have a third call. All right, now we have public comments. And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with this name. Angelo? Yes, sir. You want to come to the podium and correct me on what your last name is, please, sir?
Angelo Casaro.
Casaro. Okay, I'm sorry. I just couldn't.
Oh, it's my bad handwriting, I understand.
All right. This is in reference to your address at 19,007 Lake Ridge Court.
I may have filled it out incorrect. That's my home address.
Oh, okay. All right, you want to go forward?
Yeah. Thank you all for hearing me today. I'm a HOA board director of Blue Water Lakes. And the commercial business around us, like the cement plant especially, they start work like at 4 o'clock in the morning, and also in the middle of the night, their motors or something hum to the point where our houses are very insulated, and you can still hear inside your bedroom the humming noise. And it's always early in the morning, or it's after we have a rain, something happens, but there's early in the morning, there's a lot of traffic, a lot of traffic, a lot of noise, and get out of the way. And so just want to bring that to y'all's attention. I don't know if anybody's said anything about that. And because we're so close to it, we get to hear it. And the people that live on the road closest to it are probably the biggest residents that hear the noise. I live further west, and I still hear it through my windows. Matter of fact, I've gotten up at night thinking something was going on with my house, like a fan or something was messing up, to look around and come to find out it was the noise. The other thing is, and I'm going to see if I'm saying this correct, but there's a subdivision coming in called Valencia, okay. And they are going down the main road of Blue Water, and they're dragging mud down the street. The streets are dirty with mud. They're going in early in the morning as well. About a week ago, I was sitting on my back porch, and they actually drove an 18-wheeler, a flatbed trailer, through our subdivision to go out the main entrance. I don't know if anything can be done about that, but they're not taking any regard for us being there in reference to the residents, our city streets, the weight that's on the street, so forth and so on. And that's all I got.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
all for listening.
Thank you. That's for you. Now we have the city manager's update.
Mayor and council members, I have a couple items for you tonight. I wanted to update you. The county finished paving Cemetery, Georgia, Alabama, and Crestridge recently. We would have wished that they would have gone a little bit further on Cemetery north of Scott, all the way up to the cemetery, but they decided not to do that, but they did the other ones. It was, we're happy that they did do those. If you're looking for a place to drop off your Christmas tree, there's two different places that you can do that. One is at the county annex. It's called the Manvel substation. It's on Corporate Drive. There's a big county yard behind that. If you bring it there by January the 10th, they will take those. These need to be obviously undecorated and unflocked trees. They will take those down to replenish the dunes down next to the Gulf. Also, the Stella Roberts Recycling Center up in Pearland will recycle the trees. I don't know if they're going to take them to have them turned into mulch, or if they're going to take them to the dunes as well, but there's two different ways. According to the information, the substation in Manvel is open till the 10th, and the recycling center up in Pearland is open through the 14th. So if you need someplace to take your Christmas tree other than cutting it and tossing it into the back of a garbage truck, you can take it to one of those two places. One of the other things is I've asked the chief to kind of give you a brief update. He actually promoted a couple of officers just recently, and he can tell you about those.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Recently, we just made some promotions on a sergeant and 4 corporals. As you know, in the budget year, y'all approved 4 corporal positions to complement our supervisory roles. We also had, excuse me, a patrol sergeant's position that came open. So we did a massive testing of several individuals, and we promoted Nathan Peters to patrol sergeant, Mariah Matzenauer, Austin Livingston, Alfred Pena, and Ryan Gunner, all as patrol corporals. Their effective date for those positions was December 19th. We had a pin badging ceremony December 28th. We planned to do it earlier, but 2 of them decided they wanted to go on vacation. I don't know who approved that, but I'm going to talk to them about all that, because I don't get to take a vacation in December. But anyway, we promoted those, and they've actually, January 2nd, the shifts did their quarterly rotation, and they have been all assigned to their effective patrol shifts effective January 2nd.
Very good. I did do a COVID report, but I forgot to print out the spreadsheet, so I don't have that for you tonight. Those are the 4 things that I have for you this evening.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right, regular agenda. Consideration and possible action to approve the first of two readings of ordinance 2022-0-31, an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by amending the zoning classification of 5.742 acres located at 2951 County Road 58, Croy Road, Manvel, Texas, from light commercial district to light commercial district with specific use permit, providing for the granting of a specific use permit with conditions to authorize the existing use of property for 447,110 gasoline stations with convenience stores, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof, forwarded with favorable recommendation by PD&C.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for a SUP. The subject site is located on the north side of County Road 58 across from Rodeo Palms residential neighborhood. This is the Manvel Express existing gas station and convenience store. The applicant is requesting this SUP so that he can expand and add 5 more fuel dispensers. A little background on the subject site. This was part of a 302 approximate acres area that was annexed in 2014, and it was zoned light commercial at that point, and the site was already developed, so an SUP doesn't exist on the property as of now. And based on our current requirements, an SUP is required, so when they go through that expansion process, the SUP is needed. That's the primary reason for the request. The properties around the subject site is zoned open single-family residential, and there is we can say that it's at the intersection of County Road 58 and the extension of Kirby Road, which is proposed in our major thoroughfare plan. So in the future, it'll be at an intersection of 2 major thoroughfares. So based on the location, based on the fact that it's an existing development, the use is, the land use, the existing land use is okay, and it is in line with the comprehensive master plan goal. And staff is recommending approval with a total of 9 specific conditions to address any detrimental impact the use can have on the adjoining residential properties. I can, if you like, I can go over each conditions, or if you have questions, we can talk about it. The conditions generally focus on making sure that any expansion is done in compliance with all the existing and current requirements. One of the conditions about parking is that when the expansion happens, make sure that the site complies, the parking requirements. Compliance is for the entire development. It talks about light overspill. It's limited to 0.3 foot candles. We are also putting condition related to landscaping and opaque fence to provide screening to adjoining residential areas. The Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission is also forwarding a positive recommendation. We've had a few of the neighbors who called and inquired about the property and what is being proposed, and it was explained. And at the last meeting also, at the Planning, Development, and Zoning Commission meeting also, there wasn't anybody who came and spoke. The applicant, the owner of the gas station, is here tonight. If you all have any questions for him or for staff, collectively we'll do our best to answer any questions.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Are we imposing stronger or tighter lighting, spillage, whatever that word is we're using, or requirements on in this condition than is what's already in the ordinance?
Yes, the design criteria manual, it's 5/10 of a foot candle, so this is 3/10 of a foot candle with allowance of spillover. The aim of this is just with the expansion is any existing residential, we just want to be able to like buffer and screen what's there. Obviously, it's existing without those things in place since it was constructed with the county. But we just want to ensure that the use and its expansion isn't a nuisance to the residential development that's nearby.
I can appreciate that, but if the design criteria manual says 0.5, why are we imposing 0.3? That seems unreasonable to me. I mean, if he wants to abide by that, great, but I think that's
It's a specific use permit, so it gives us that allowance to make a recommendation above and beyond. If you don't necessarily want to have that in as a condition for approval, you can make that recommendation. However, I would suggest keeping in certain things as far as like some of the full cutoff fixtures, because those full cutoff fixtures, it's just really a shielding that they can put on there. So it just can't really spill over. And when you're limiting the height of some of those, we also have that in there as well. So again, it's just simply for the residential development. I think of some of that stuff already out there is zoned light commercial, but it's being used in a residential manner. So we still don't want to be a nuisance. That's why we worded it, whether it was zoned residential or used residential.
thank you.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve?
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Consideration and possible action to approve the first of two readings of ordinance 2022-0-32, an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending the zoning ordinance of the city by changing the zoning classification of a tract of land, 13.82 acres, located at 11,700 Magnolia Parkway, containing, containing 13.82 acres or 602,164 square feet of land situated in the HT and BRR County Survey, abstract number 298, Brazoria County, Texas, also being a residue of a called 16.0231 acre tract described in deed to Aramco Investment Group as recorded under Brazoria County Clerk's File BCCF number 20100051007 from open single-family residential district to light commercial district, providing for the amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing for severability, and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. This was forwarded with favorable recommendation by PNC. Jotes?
The subject side is what is known as one of the mansions, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't here when it was built, but I hear a lot of stories about it. The property is located at the intersection of Magnolia and Kirby, right? Yeah, Magnolia and Kirby. It's at the southwestern corner. The properties north are within the city of Pearland. The properties to the east and south are within City of Manvel's ETJ, and the property to the west is within city limits. It's zoned light commercial with an SUP to allow for church and school use. All the properties at the other corners are already developed, and they're developed for uses that are similar to what would be allowed as part of the light commercial district. And I guess there are gas stations too, which would need an SUP, of course. The applicant has indicated that the existing building on the property will be demolished, and a retail strip center, a conceptual plan is included in the packet with pad sites, with uses like office, restaurants, financial institutions, daycare, is what is proposed or what is being considered for that location. Based on the location and the existing development in the general area, the land use looks like it fits that area, and the fact that the abutting property on the west is also consistent with the proposed zoning, it's a factor that supports the proposed rezoning. There are residential uses in the area, especially on the south side in our ETJ. However, those are not the rural residential large acre tracts. They are planned residential development. So it's not like in stark contrast with, from a general planning perspective. Those are the big factors that we considered as part of our analysis, and based on those, we are recommending approval of the proposed rezoning, and so is the Planning Development and Zoning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation, and the vote was 5-0.
Move to approve.
Any questions? Anything?
We do have the applicant present tonight as well.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
This is the previous item. She's talking about the previous item, the SUP application.
About the gas station?
I think the previous item is what. The Manvel Express one? Yeah, that was.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not disregarding your question, or we're happy to have you here. But I think if you can speak to the people in development, they will be able to give you an answer and show you. It kind of sounds like they're not in that particular. Yes.
So I've already spoken with her today, and I think the question pertains to the map that we have, and we use the appraisal district's parcel data, and she has a confusion whether the exhibit is showing her property as the proposed site.
Oh,
So
okay.
we'll get back with her.
Okay. All right, that will be great, and they will speak to you about that, okay? I
Make the second.
okay,
did the
Lorraine
first, she
made
did
the
the second.
second. We've already got a motion on the table for the next item. So all those in favor? All those opposed? And the motion carries 7-0. All right, number 3, consideration and possible action to approve Manvel Palms Master Plan, being a subdivision of 125.58 acres out of the HT and BRR County Survey, Section 75A-299, City of Manvel, Brazoria County, Texas. Motion to forward with recommendation by PD&Z failed with a 0-5 vote.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Trying to confuse you. Who are you gonna, who's gonna be talking next? This did go to the Planning Development and Zoning Commission, at their meeting, on December 12th. They did not recommend approval to you. As you recall, when you did the Valencia master plan, master plans have recommendations that are provided to you by PD&Z, with you be the governing body that has that final action on it. So staff and PD&Z did not recommend this, and that is because we need a traffic study, which has not been provided. And then also revising the master plan to indicate how parkland dedication is going to be served per section 47.6 of the Code of Ordinances.
All right.
Is this what's the word I'm looking for? Is it materially different than what the Yanni Palms was?
So, it's not, but everything with Yanni Palms, sorry, should have probably given you a bit of background on that. Everything with Yanni Palms that had been approved expired. So, all the preliminary plats, construction plans, so it's a brand new development is how we're looking at it, even though there are some things that have been built out there. The things that are built, haven't been verified yet, whether or not that's gonna have to come out or not based off of what was done to standards or not. So because we're starting everything new, there are some questions that have to be answered, and particularly with the parkland dedication, because the previous property owner did have an agreement for the removal of the cell tower site, I think, which was going to free up some parkland dedication, which didn't call into question. That person not being the property owner anymore, we've learned since then that the agreement has been expired, doesn't transfer to new owner. So we're trying to work out what that looks like for parkland dedication. So that's why you may be questioning why something had been approved before, but not now. So
I mean, I understand that this is kind of a unique situation, that it's new, but it kind of isn't. You know, it's lipstick on a pig, so it's not really new. So, you know, I just want to make sure that we're not being overly regulatory. I mean, a brand new traffic study, if we already had a traffic study, but now what you just said about the cell tower, now I'll give you that one.
So with the traffic study, when it was known as Yanni Palms prior, there were a lot of other developments that weren't out there, kind of fully to where we are at that point. I think back when this started, Yanni Palms was a thing before I started working here over 4 years ago. So a lot of things have changed in 4 years. It may present nothing as far as what the traffic study gives us as far as any changes, but we don't know. We want to check that box before we move towards that, since we've got some major thoroughfares we have 2 major thoroughfares that are moving through this development. One in particular, you know, that's new, that wasn't in existence before Yanni Palms, is Foxtail Palms. We've been kind of working through that process with them, and they've gotten preliminary plat approval. So there's some things that we want to ensure that we're doing everything right. And because the subdivision ordinance allows us to be able to get that traffic study with the thoroughfares, we're requesting it just to ensure that everything's on the up and up with it.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve? We caution on negative motions, right? Okay.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? And the motion fails 7-0. 0-7. Sorry. All right, consideration and possible action to approve a request for a subdivision variance for property located at 8080. Oh, excuse me. What did I do? I skipped a whole one. Sorry. Rewind. Consideration and possible action to direct staff to provide applicants written statements of the conditions for any conditional approvals and the reasons for disapproval of any plans or plats that were not approved per Texas Local Government Code 212-0091.
This is an item that we put on the agenda when we're not recommending approval or doing conditional approvals, and that gives you give the authority for staff to write that letter that needs to be communicated to them per Texas Local Government Code 212.0091. It closes that loop. Since you are the governing body, you're not actually physically writing the letter. You're asking staff to write that letter on your behalf. It's a technicality.
Okay.
Is it a technicality that can go on the consent agenda?
Well, maybe you would have approved this, so then you wouldn't have had to act on it.
Okay. Move to approve.
Second, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Consideration and possible action to approve a request for a subdivision variance for property located at 8080 Bailey Road, Pearland, Texas, seeking to vary Chapter 62, Section 62-113 sidewalks to allow development of the subject site without the construction of sidewalks.
This is a request for a subdivision variance. The subject site is located at the southeastern corner of Bailey and Old Chocolate Bayou Road. The subject site is an approximate 2.19 acre tract. The property owner is currently developing the property for a gas station and convenience store. The construction began without a plat approval or plans approval from City of Manvel. The subject site is located in the ETJ. They did get approvals from Brazoria County, and right now the applicant is in the process of getting approvals for their plans and a plat approval from the City of Manvel, and therefore they're requesting that they be allowed to proceed without the construction of the sidewalk. Their reasoning for the request, they've listed broadly 3 items as the reasoning. One is they say that installation is impractical of the multi-purpose pathway that is required by the current thoroughfare plan. They say that the Brazoria County does not require sidewalks. They say that special circumstance of existing open ditch restricts them from constructing the sidewalk. And they also mentioned that the existing sidewalk on the north side of Bailey Road is sufficient. So based on the criteria provided in section 62-5, staff looked into it. The existing open ditch can be considered a unique situation because the major thoroughfare plan recommendation and allowance is based on concrete curb and gutter street. They say that Brazoria County does not require sidewalks, which is true. There was a recent amendment in 2021, and it states sidewalk will be allowed, matching current specifications, but will not be required. So it just says that it's not required, but it will be allowed if it matches the specification that existed at the time of amendment. And we do have a letter from Brazoria County Engineering, which we've attached as part of the packet. However, the letter does not clearly explain that the county has an objection and they will not allow construction of sidewalk. The letter says that they will not, to the effect that they will not push for a sidewalk. So we lack that clarity on what exactly the issue is in terms of sidewalk. And the applicant is requesting that the complete requirement be waived, which is not the minimum variance that is applicable in this situation. Since the property's subject site is located at the intersection of 2 major thoroughfare, the construction of sidewalk is gonna be beneficial for the area, and which is in line with the goal of the major thoroughfare plan. When the streets were constructed or when they were widened, there was these landings included, which appears or which kind of points to the fact that sidewalk was considered at that point. And another thing to keep in mind is the construction plans that they've prepared and provided shows a 5-foot wide sidewalk on both sides along both streets, which doesn't support the claim that it is impractical to put it in with the existing open ditch. So based on all of that, staff is recommending denial of this variance request. I don't think the applicant is here. If you all have any questions of staff, we'll collectively try to answer.
Anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
So if the county's not going to force them to do it, I'd remind us that we attempted to annex this location, and the residents in that area didn't want us involved in anything that had to do with their stuff. And so if the county doesn't want to enforce it, then I don't see why we should.
The county doesn't enforce the higher restrictions that we require.
Agreed, but the folks that live out there didn't want us to have anything to do with their stuff. So if they don't get a sidewalk because of it, then they should have allowed us to annex them. I mean, I'd hate for business not to open because we made them put in a sidewalk that the county says that they're not gonna force them to do.
If I could throw in a comment, there are still some development requirements that we're allowed to do to round out our city, whether they're part of us or not. And it has to continue with what our city looks like, just like we do things in the ETJ with other developments. And if it's our requirement, it's our requirement. Our city has to somehow connect as best as we can. So I'm for the requirement for that reason.
Just remind me of, I think where that station is, there's no development across the street from it.
Correct.
The street that goes, well, I'm confused with north, south, east, west here, but, not that I can see that is right, okay. Yeah. So there's nothing on the other side of Chocolate Bayou.
That is correct.
Okay. And there is a sidewalk all the way down the other side.
That is correct.
Is there anybody on their side that has been required to put a sidewalk in?
On the side, south side, I don't think so, but Jessica may know.
We've only had one development, and it was years ago. I say development where we did a plat. It was for the RV park that was done on Joe, and at the time we knew the county was widening, so we said go to the county. So I'm not entirely sure if that happened or not, since they were on the south side. As Joe's pointed out, there are the landing pads that are there. So when they did the widening of the road, it wasn't envisioning that a sidewalk was going to be there. So much so that when you walk across, or if you try to go across Bailey, there are even there's striping on the road that indicates for pedestrians to walk across to nowhere. I guess maybe to walk back to the north side of Bailey. I mean, we desperately tried to get an answer from the county on this. And then, like Joe said, we sort of got a convoluted answer of we're not going to enforce something we don't require, basically. The site became problematic when it's already constructed. It's out there. So it didn't give us an opportunity to try to find a way to make this work without just saying, hey, the county doesn't want us to do the sidewalk, so we're not going to do it.
The open ditch is also very,
Again, those are things that could have been captured through actual construction plan approval on the city side, but
I think that the county actually saved money by putting concrete curb and gutter on the north side and a sidewalk and an open ditch and nothing on the south side. That's what they did. It probably should have had sidewalks and curb and gutter on both sides, but they kind of cheaped it.
Well, I have a question. Did the county partner with Pearland on that? Maybe that's why they did one side and not the other side?
There is a fuel wise down on Bailey in Pearland, and they don't have it on that side. So if it is on the side, it looks like they're just not requiring it on the south side.
So the Bailey project, to answer your question, I believe it was a TxDOT project. So county was involved for sure, but it was a TxDOT project.
Yeah, they did.
okay. Once again, I remind you of a negative motion and,
If I could,
yes, sir?
just for reference, there are no sidewalks between Old Chocolate Bayou and John's Country Inn. There are no sidewalks at all on
No.
that side.
No,
Nothing.
no, I know.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
so why should we make them put it in? Okay, that's what I'm saying. All right. A motion to approve,
I'll move to approve the variance.
second?
I'll second it.
Okay. And all those in favor? We're in favor of the variance? Not to make them construct it. Okay. All right. I got confused. I thought maybe. You're making a face too. What are you making a face?
I'm sorry.
No, it's seven. It's me. I was just trying to figure out whether this was one of those that was a negative motion, but it's not. So, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. No sidewalk for those people. All right. Discussion on creating a position to hire a community events coordinator requested by Councilmember Hain and Councilmember Acree.
Because I'm supporting my friend, he's going to talk about it.
Well, we put this on here because we had no events, and so we figured, we discussed this months ago, we'd have to do something, so we brought it before council to find out what can we do. Do we need to hire somebody? I didn't know that was really going to be on there like that, but to have events in the city. I missed the Christmas parade personally with the dancing queen, so I know it's.
Well,
I know it's hard to do events, so maybe we have to move forward and pay somebody.
Well, let me address the Christmas parade first.
Okay.
We had one subdivision when we were doing the Dancing Queen through Lakeland. And we now have many subdivisions. And it was presented to city staff that we were honoring one subdivision in taking our parade through there. So we changed up the whole concept. And I will tell you, had you been here, you would have realized that this event that was here was so successful. And it was a nasty night. And we had, I don't know how many people that came and sat on Santa's lap and drew pictures and played games. They played, what's that game? Cornhole, yeah. And, and lots of other, this place was full. And they made hot chocolate, and they made, and we had cookies from HEB. And quite frankly, I cannot give enough accolades for that event. And I encourage our council members to come to our events that we have. Sorry, that was a little snide, but it's true. You cannot complain if you do not participate. So, I'm going to have to come back on the Christmas parade part of it. The other part of it that I come back on is the fact that this is truly a council decision if you want to create a events coordinator. We have a lot of positions in this city that we need to fill, and I think that if staff is still willing, Tammy, to come up with these fabulous ideas for some of the events until we secure some of these other, this is my personal, obviously, position. I'm against an events position, coordinator position at this time. Now, if we want to put, add a little bit and ask Brooke to, kind of pitch in some more, which she has already been doing on the State of the City and quite a few of the other things, then maybe that direction can come from Kyle. I'll be quiet now.
Well, I want to add some comments because I was with, I had to have him go first or else he'd never say anything. So I've discussed with Kyle, and we talked about this before the holiday, and I've discussed with the chamber leadership as well. And the one thing I spoke with about the chamber leadership and what other cities do when they need to fill that void of just getting some more presence is to join with them. And we are already joining, and we go to the lunches and we go to coffee connections and all that stuff. But one other thing that we can do is, as you're always talking about us ambassadoring through the chambers that we've already joined, and Kyle and I spoke with about that as well, to add our faces to those chambers, to dues that we already pay, and then ask them if there's any places that we can be to join with them and give us more presence, if that makes sense. Instead of, not necessarily filling a position today, I feel very similar to you, and Kyle and I talked about this recently, that we have loaded him with positions. And I feel like every time we talk to him, we're telling him to hire somebody, and we're telling him to put him in closets because we have no space. So I think that is a goal setting. My input is that that's a goal setting. If we want to add staff at that time, that's the time to bring up a coordinator position if it is something that we desire to do. When it comes to filling that need, I think, just like you said, that we should all be involved. I think we should engage more with the chamber. I did ask Kyle, and we talked about this, so he knows I'm talking about him, that if he has, if he has any more time to spare with, like maybe Brooke or Tammy, I know they're so stretched thin, to engage more with the chamber, to ask them, attend more meetings like where they have the engagement with the city, more things that they could do to let them know that we are available to do stuff with them to keep us engaged. Because those are groups that are already advocating for cities. That will help us until we get to this, where are we going to find the money, where are we going to write the description, who are they going to work for between now and then.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's more than that. What are they gonna do between Valentine's Day
Yeah, all of those
and
things.
Easter? There's not that much for one person to be hired on at a yearly salary. Are they planning from Valentine's to Easter for the whole thing? It's just, I think it's improbable at this stage. That's my take. You can tell that's my take. I'm sorry. But we have an event coordinator here. What do you think?
Think that it's a great thing to remember in the future when we have locations to host events. I think that more direction from council for what, having been on that events committee, I think it could have worked had we had invested members and we also had more direction from council, which I think would have made them feel more empowered, saying, I want these things to actually happen in the city. And then I also think that until we are just as excited about other people and other groups bringing their events here, then we shouldn't be leaning so hard into our own. That is, their win is our win. So us hiring someone, unless that person is also going to be someone who's like the liaison between the community bringing in events, which is free for us and promotion for us, then I think it's premature.
Thank you.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
So I think I like where you just went, though, is if the city manager feels like he needs another person that can help fix the problems that you brought up several meetings ago with your experience with the city in going smoothly to find ways to say yes to your event, I would be much more supportive of that position versus a person that is an event planner or whatever. And then I think Nicole's right that if we have if it's easier for people to come and do things, the bit for the businesses to put on their stuff and the churches to put on stuff to bring them, then you get double duty. We're an easier city to deal with when there's more stuff going on. And that's something I hadn't considered until you just said what you said, so thank you for that.
Well, and I'm not trying to roast you over there, Brooke, but I do think that, you know, some of the things that you hear about or you see other cities doing via public information, that you might be well-suited to do some of that. I mean, that's just, but that's a suggestion to the city manager, not,
And hopefully the city manager
not-
recognizes
I'm
you
not
put
giving
together a hell of a presentation, so.
you know.
The two things that come to mind, Nicole, you're exactly right. Location to hold an event, if we're gonna have a city event, is the key. And right now, we don't have anything large enough for a large event that has facilities and bathrooms and all those things that we've talked about before. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think at the next council meeting, we're bringing the proposals for the update to the events ordinance and of mobile food trucks. So I think you're going to have your first reading at the next council meeting on those things to hopefully make it easier for those things that are not city issued, coordinated, whatever, make it easier for somebody that wants to have an event at their own place. Hopefully the cities will be helping on that and not as much a sort of a stumbling block that it may have been in the past. So that'll be at the next council meeting.
All right. I don't guess we have any motion that comes out of that. It's just discussion, and we will continue to discuss. We have mayor and council comments. Anybody got anything coming up? Okay.
Yes, Mayor and Council, good evening, everyone. On Saturday, December the 7th, this Saturday at 6 p.m. at the Hilton Gardens Inn, the Pearland Martin Luther King Celebration Committee will be presenting scholarships to high school seniors from Alvin ISD and Pearland ISD in celebration of Dr. King's birthday, but also in promotion of educational achievement. So Tammy has actually emailed information on the flyer to the council members, but to the public. It is open to the public if you'd like to attend. You can go to the PearlandMLKCC.org website if you'd like to purchase a ticket to the event to witness this, and also it helps support the future scholarships that we'll be awarding. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Did I say February?
You said December.
Oh, good Lord. No, January 7th, this Saturday, 6 p.m.
No going backwards.
2023. I'm not going backwards to 2022. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second it. All those in favor?